If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. It would really help the channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. This video is episode 2, technically 3 because I did do one on the World Championship winning list, but I didn't really have a fancy name for the video yet. But this is episode 2 for the series for Custodes What's Winning Right Now. Episode 2 will be looking at a list that won a GT on week 3 of January 2025. We will take a look at the list, the path of victory, then a quick overview of the list. I didn't write these lists nor win with them. It will be more of a general overview of what the list can do in the chosen detachment. Today's list is a Talons of the Emperor list played by Nicolas Bialek. I'm sorry if I messed that name up. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. We'll call him Nicolas B for the video, and he went 5-0 with the Adeptus Custodes to win the Custodes GT. Now let's take a look at the Talons of the Emperor list that Nicolas used to win the Custodes GT. It came to 1,995 points. His Warlord was a Shield Captain on the Dawn Eagle jet bike with the Aegis Projector enhancement. He had 2 other Blade Champions in his list, no enhancements on those. For his other data sheets, he had 2 units of 5 Wardens with the Guardian Spears in the Vexilla, 2 Caladius Grav-tanks with the Arachnus Heavy Blaze Cannons, and then 2 units of Vertus Praetors. Both of them had the 3 salvo launchers equipped, 2 units of 4 Witch Seekers, a unit of 4 Prosecutors, and then finally for a dedicated transport, a Psykana Rhino with the Stormbolter and the Hunter Killer Missile. And once again, it came to 1,995 points. Here was the path of victory for Nicolas and his Adeptus Custodes. Game 1, he played the Blood Angels, and that was a 90-23 win. Game 2 was against the Space Marines for a 90-42 win. Game 3 and his closest game was against the Grey Knights, and that was a 79-72 win. Game 4 against the Tyranids ended up being a 100-80 win. Finally, Game 5, the last game, was against the Death Guard, and that once again was a 95-65 win. So Nicolas B and his Talons of the Emperor list went 5-0 to win the GT. And he was able to get 456 points out of the total 500. He had a lot of 90+ point wins, a lot of real decisive wins. Congratulations to Nicolas once again. We'll start our unit breakdown with the Shield Captain on the Dawn Eagle jet bike. The Shield Captain has that Aegis Projector enhancement for a once per turn, the first time a saving throw has failed for the bearer's unit, change the damage characteristic of that attack to 0. And this is once per turn, so that is in your turn and the opponent's turn per battle round. The 7 jet bikes in the list is a big change to the World Championship winning Talons list, dropping one of the 3 Bladechampion Wardens units and the Custodian Guard and Inquisitor Draxus unit. The Shield Captain's sweeping advance ability on the Vertus Praetors that is attached to is a once per game fallback or normal move at the end of the fight phase if the unit has fought this phase. So this adds a lot of extra movement to that unit. Strategic Mastery will give the CP hungry detachment a bit of relief and the unit the ability to use Talon Pincer, our reactive movement stratagem, even when we have 0 CP. All 7 jet bikes are equipped with the salvo launchers to add some more anti-tank or anti-elite infantry shooting. These are probably frontline pushing units with the Lance ability giving them +1 to wound if they've charged this turn. That might make it a bit harder to be within 6 inches of a Psykana unit to have that mortal wounds protection. Possibly the Rhino might be able to get in range with this extra movement. The Talon Pincer for 1 CP can be used to get these out of line of sight or make those enemy charges longer. Hunt as 1 for 1 CP for that fallback, shoot, and charge is fantastic for these jet bikes. It allows us to fall back and charge back in, or even to a different unit if we need to. And these love being able to fall back, shoot, and charge to get that deadly +1 to the wound in the fight phase with that Lance ability. And the salvo launchers can throw out some big damage now since they are now twin linked. Emperor's Executioners for 2 CP, it can be used if we have used Hunt as 1 on a different unit. The Shield Captain unit can use Emperor's Execution for a reduced cost of 1 CP with Strategic Mastery. So maybe he wanted to use fallback and charge on one of the Wardens units. He can still get +1 to wound on this Vertus Praetors unit using Emperor's Executioners. The auto 6-inch advance ability is great for those turn 1s to get into good staging areas or even grab objectives early. Next up is our Bladechampion and Wardens units. These are the anvil units to hold objectives. Could even start one of these in reserves if we wanted to have a little bit of rapid ingress threat. The Bladechampion gives the unit reroll charges and a once per game advance in charge, while the Wardens have their once per game 4+ feel no pain for the phase, and -1 to the wound roll if the incoming attack's strength is higher than the Warden's toughness 6. The detachment rule gives us a way to protect ourselves from mortal wounds without having to use that 4-up feel no pain. Hunt as 1 for 1 CP for fallback, shoot, and charge is very powerful for this unit. To re-engage to get fight first, or to get to areas for secondary points, possibly behind enemy lines. Emperor's Executioners for 2 CP for +1 to the wound will help the fact that the Wardens do not get any reroll the wound roll like our Custodian Guard or the Alaris Terminators. Talon Pincer for 1 CP, our reactive 6-inch movement can be used to keep this unit out of line of sight, extend or block charges, or even move closer to steal objectives. Finally, Shield of Honor for 1 CP to protect some Psykana models from enemy shooting. Nicolas also had 2 Caladius Grav-tanks in his list. The Caladius has such a good datasheet, it does not need as much stratagem support. The Grav-tank isn't as dangerous as in Solar Spearhead, but it still packs a heavy long-range punch. Talons of the Emperor has a few useful stratagems we can use on the Caladius. Talon Pincer for 1 CP can be used to extend charges or even use this big tank model to charge block. Emperor's Severance for 1 CP can be used to give the tank a 4+ feel no pain to mortals and psychic. It does need to be within 6 inches of a Psykana model though, so not as much detachment support as say Solar Spearhead, but still some good stratagems for this amazing datasheet. Next up is the Witchseekers. The list has 2 units of Witchseekers. One will probably start in the Rhino to give the Rhino a 6-inch scout move. Shield of Honor for 1 CP can be used on the Wardens to keep these units a bit more safe from enemy ranged attacks, and Talon Pincer and Empiric Severance can be used to keep these alive longer, and this is a CP hungry detachment though. The more powerful stratagems should be saved for the more powerful and points expensive units, but as you can see in a lot of these stratagems, you get to pick 2 different units as long as one of the units is a Custodes unit and one of the unit is a Psykana unit. So a lot of the times the Psykana units in this list will also gain access to these stratagems even though we're using it on our Wardens unit or say the Vertus Praetors units. You do have to be within 6 inches, but there's still room for some play with these stratagems targeting 2 different units. Our last Custodes infantry unit is the Prosecutors. Great cheap units for doing secondary actions with the option to leave it on the home objective to hold it if there is no 6-inch deep strike threats or indirect threat. The detachment rule to help spread some 5+ feel no pain to mortals and psychic to the Custodes within 6 inches, and Talon Pincer for 1 CP is great for extending those charges on enemy units trying to take our home objective from these Prosecutors if we have the Prosecutors holding our home objective. The final unit in Nicolas' list was the Psykana Rhino. The Rhino adds a medium toughness vehicle to keep a unit of Witchseekers safe. A unit of Witchseekers inside gives that Rhino a 6-inch scout move. The Rhino does have the Psykana keyword to allow it to spread that Null Aegis aura for the 5-up feel no pain to mortals and psychic, and also access to the Empiric Severance for a 4+ feel no pain to mortals. Talon Pincer for 1 CP, that reactive move can once again be used to keep the Rhino on the table longer. This is a great unit for getting within 6 inches of some of our Custodes units to spread some of those good detachment rules. And that is all the units in the list. Let's move on to a general game plan for this list. Now let's go over a general game plan of what this list is able to do. This to me is a primary scoring list with some good secondary scoring, but the bikes allow Nicolas to be much more aggressive. The bikes have a movement of 12. They do have to go around terrain. However, the fly keyword allows them to move over enemy screens. This gives the list a much bigger threat ranges, especially with the 2 units of Vertus Praetors. He still has enough Psykana units to do secondary actions and to spread that Null Aegis 5+ feel no pain to mortal 6-inch aura when he needs it on his big expensive Adeptus Custodes infantry units. A lot of Nicolas wins were in the 90 point range. Seems once he gained the primary control, he never let it go, and then he used the speed and the chaff of the army to rack up secondary points. The Wardens are tough as nails, and so are the Vertus Praetors now, at toughness 7 and 5 wounds a model with stratagems and movement to boost the overall damage of the list. A list with a tanky backbone with the speed to pressure when the list needs to be aggressive. Congratulations to Nicolas once again for proving that the Custodes are not just a one-player faction with only Folger Piles winning some of these tournaments. Another Talons of the Emperor win with a different list than that World Championship winning Talons list. The buff to the Vertus Praetors seems to have given them enough power to help us win some tournaments. I will keep refining this series as it goes on. I may also start one for the Grey Knights, for sure the Salamanders if we ever win a GT, but for now, we'll stick with the Custodes as we refine this series. Subscribe for weekly battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Like I always say, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.